Hi, I'm Denise Gustafson, Editorial Director for My Print Resource and Wide Format Imaging Magazine. And today I have Tim Greene here for IDC, so welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. So, looking around the show, digital signage is definitely one of the huge components. They have Digital Signage Day. So, what kind of opportunity do you think that is we have for shops nowadays?
Yeah, great question. I have to say that we did some research on this pretty recently at IDC, and well, one of the kind of surprising and I think quite a challenging thing that we found in that research is that a lot of companies that are considering a digital signage investment don't really look at a sign guy, a sign shop, as a source.
Okay.
So this is a big challenge. Like, sign shops have to, if they want to participate in that market, they have to sort of create their space, and you know, educate their prospects or customers about, you know, the strengths, what they know about, you know, placement and content and other aspects and characteristics of a signage system that really can make them more effective, right? Because that's really what people are after. What is effective, cost effective, of course, but you know, that's the I think that's the say the lever that sign shops really have and should be pushing.
Yeah, and I know with digital signage, I know one of the huge components is the IT and the infrastructure. Great
point. Yes, absolutely, and it's, you know, it kind of goes back to a bigger question, right? Like, for many companies in the printing business, many companies in the signage business, like, well, okay, what's after that? Like, what's the next thing? And many companies do think of digital signage, and I agree that there's a big and growing market there. So, like I say, in making the investments in yourself to become a player in that business is a you know, it's a challenge and opportunity at the same time.
Yeah, and that's actually a great segue into my next question and talking about, you know, what do shops really need to be thinking about right now? You know, looking at that next step, what do they need to be thinking about to make sure that they're successful moving forward?
Yeah, so that's again a great question, and really it's the, you know, the multi-billion-dollar question about what's next, or for many companies. And I think a lot of people think about I'll call it the services element, right? So what can they do beyond, say, you know, print them great, but cheap, and that kind of, you know, I'll call it commodity printing business. It's just crucial to get past that, or to get through. I mean, you know, let's, in a practical sense, you're always going to have that. You have to do some of those things. But in a bigger picture and from a strategic standpoint, definitely they should be thinking about what types of services can we add, whether it's, you know, management or installation or campaign management or effectiveness measurement or some other
some other even marketing services, you know.
Absolutely, and you know, I know that that's sort of become a thing. People say, you have to go into become a marketing service provider, but in this case I would call it like a communication service provider. If that means integrating mobile, it means integrating like internal employee communications, however that has to play out. I think that's where a lot of sign shops are going to have to head.
Now then the question is where are they finding some of that information? And obviously trade shows are one of the key opportunities. I mean, like I said, they had Digital Signage Day where they had a really huge opportunity to learn about some of the introductory of how to get involved with digital signage. So, you know, is that the only reason why trade shows are really, really so important for shops?
Oh no, so, I mean, you know, the people come to these events and they keep up with what their technology they have to employ every single day. You know, what other things are out there that can make them run more cost effectively and more efficiently right now. For example, like there's some integration of robotics in feeding and finishing that, you know, 5 or 10 years ago you never would have seen that at the show. So some of that stuff I think is incredibly exciting. That's just for what they're doing today. But also, yeah, you're right, to sort of keep an eye out and say, like, what's my business going to look like 2, 4, 7 years from now?
You know, also just on the subject of trade shows, I know one thing that I'd heard at one point was that some people had advised, you know, for some of the customers for shops to actually go to trade shows that their customers would go to really learn about them. Is that also something that you would, you know, advise people to do?
Yeah, I think a great example of that, and, you know, I don't know if that's competitive, but one of the names, but Global Shop is a good example of that. Like the people who are buying graphics are there. They're communicating with people to say, like, here's what I need. And that's really, you know, a key part of the whole supply chain is what are buyers demanding, and In fact, we have some work together that we're working on about what are buyers asking for and how does that impact the investments print service providers have to make.
Yeah, perfect. So last question is, looking at the industry as a whole, what would you say, a specific industry or challenge that kind of that you think that's keeping shops awake at night?
Yeah, so we are in fact doing a survey project right now, and the thing that keeps coming up over and over and over again is saturation, right?
Okay,
people are worried about what the effect of, for a while now, Denise, people have been talking about convergence, right? You've got sign shops and screen printers and reprographic shops, and
the list goes on and on.
It goes on and on, right?
Yeah.
And increasingly, because now the printers are so much faster and so much better, that wide formats become more of an opportunity for commercial printers. Mm-hmm. And as those commercial printers get into the market, they tend to do so at a fairly high level.
Yes.
And so it definitely stresses a local market when somebody makes a $2 million investment in very high productive equipment
and finishing and the whole the whole kit they come in with.
So once they there might be a little ramp up time, but once they ramp up, or they might just buy another company, but effectively it just kind of stresses that local market and maybe even wider than local. Yeah. So that's the issue that I think comes up more and more. And again, it goes back to our original point about what's next, or what are the new opportunities, or what are the new applications, what are the new niches that either smaller companies or resident wide format companies can get into.
All right, well, Tim, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks.